Poodle fam, here we are. We are back. It's Wednesday. What is it? It's the 10th. Wednesday, August 10th. And we are here. Show 63 in a row. I am back home. I am in my my office here at home, back from Washington, D.C. this week. Great week, which was an inspiring week, actually. I originally was supposed to actually be on a train during this episode, or a plane during this episode. And so I wasn't going to be here. I was going to do a pre-record, but ended up switching my flight around. I got home and got inspired. So that is what today's episode is going to be about. I'm actually kind of now in an all-day train. I had to actually switch my flight in order to do an all-day director's thing for work. So they happened to take lunch, and while they did lunch, I'm doing a poodlecast because that's what I do, and I will scarf food with camera off later. Poodle fam, so good to have you. As you know, I was just in Washington, D.C. the last couple days, actually since, I guess, Saturday. And you probably saw some of the recordings and the NFTs that I took some pictures of over on the Lincoln Memorial, as well as did some at the back of the White House. So hopefully you just enjoyed those. It's really kind of cool to see how our NFTs are just so unique that we can, being able to kind of pin them in these public places. So it was a great time. It was a good weekend. But it really got me thinking. It's funny, I was tweeting out some pictures of just me out there, kind of doing the tourist thing around Washington, D.C., and one of my my British friends said, it's like you're a tourist in your own country. And I was like, I am. Every time I go to D.C., the kind of grandeur of it, the big columns, the history, it never dies for me. It never dies at all. So it does inspire me. So I'm going to talk a little bit today because I am doing like I said, a work meeting. We might have a little shorter one today. I'll probably actually hit that. They're only supposed to be 20 minutes each, and I always go long. But I might hit that today. But I am going to talk about some stuff that's important and some stuff that I've seen on our Telegram and comments that people have had. This is really going to be one where I want you to think about our purpose and our direction. Hopefully you saw that we got the new website posted this week on the weekend. There's still some work to do. I'll still be working on it. Kind of did most of it for the week before, but it just the timing it took to get it loaded up. Of course, got loaded up while I was out at a work conference. So, I'll get the little final pieces put together and get it all dolled up over the next couple weeks. I don't travel again for a couple weeks, so I go to the Virgin Islands for a little rest and relaxation. And we're going to do some guests again. I know I got a lot of comments that people liked the guests, and I was doing a nice long series of guests coming around. So we will do that over the next couple episodes and get some live ones back. So that said, I'm going to encourage you, if you are watching live, use the chat. I don't know if I have it set. Do I got it set? Yeah, I'm watching the chat. All right, there we go. I don't know why it's not updating for me. There we go. Feel free to ask questions. Little thing I'm going to talk about again. I'm titling this one riding the financial freedom train. When I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to talk politics. Right. One nice thing about Poodle, and what I love, is that we have people of all across the political spectrum. We have people of all genders, you name it, of all walks of life, who are all part of this token, and we all get together and just care about our community. So that's the cool thing. We got the question on the chat about when Lambo. Well, we're going to talk about train first. Then we're going to get a Lambo. The financial freedom train is going to get you into that. It's going to deliver you to your Lambo. But that's the cool thing. So I'm not going to really talk politics about Washington, D.C., so I know it can be kind of it can be heated, but what I want to talk more is about kind of how I get inspired. I'm not going to lie. So we got back from the end of our kind of vendor night of some dinner and drinks, and all hopped on the electric scooters at 2 a.m. and started going up and down the National Mall. Went around to Lincoln Memorial, across to the Jefferson Memorial on the other side of the Potomac, come back around, went to the Washington Memorial, and then ended up back at the White House. So did almost all of it except the Capitol building and the Supreme Court, or else made pretty much the full circle. And I just got it was really interesting because normally when I'll go down the National Mall, and I try to do it every time I go to Washington, D.C., it's just tourists everywhere. Right? It's just jam-packed. But as we were doing this at 2 a.m., 2 o'clock, 3 a.m., I don't think we got back to our rooms till 4 a.m. It was empty. Empty as all heck. It was really almost eerie that we walked all the way up the steps of the Lincoln Memorial, and it was just us alone in this whole thing. And to put perspective, I mean, the statue of Lincoln, I don't know how tall he is, but easily 20 to 30 feet, if not higher. He's massive. And you just sit there and you're in front of it and recognizing, what impact, Abraham Lincoln had, not just on, the United States, but really globally, right? And we know that, the U.S. wasn't the first country to abolish slavery, but was the first major to do so, right? The first world power to do so. And that trickled down, right? That idea of freedom. And I know, we still have a lot of work to do here in the States, right? And there's still a lot of social unrest. There's still work to do. But when you look at an impact of somebody, you look at an impact of what one figurehead can do, and then you turn around and you look down the National Mall and you got the Washington Monument right in front of you. And then all the way at the end, you see the Capitol all lit up. And you recognize that, when we come together as a people, we can do great things. Sure. I mean, obviously, Lincoln ignited a civil war, which was not necessarily uniting, but in the end, it moved our country forward, right? And probably most people consider one of the, top few. I would pretty sure that if you put Lincoln on a list, he's going to make everybody's top 5 for sure, if not number 1, 2, or 3. And I was there, and I started thinking about Poodle. Why? I know, what am I doing on the Lincoln Memorial? And Poodle pops in my mind, probably because I had to. I did the Poodle not NFT there. But it made me sit there and go, okay, well, what kind of freedom can crypto do? What's interesting is there's been a lot of shows that I've talked about where, we talk and we believe in the power of crypto. We believe in the future of crypto. When we all say, win Moon, win Lambo, win, whatever. But the fact is that there is no other financial equalizer that has come into modern society than the possibility behind crypto in a long time. If you look at the .com boom, which turned into a bust, and you look at the housing boom that turned into a bust, what you saw was a lot of wealthy throw and leverage money at the expense of others. And what happened, and I'll talk about the housing crisis in 2008, if many of you are aware of it or not, but obviously, the United States here, we had a huge housing boom, which we actually had in this last year, and it's starting to downturn. It's not going to burst like it did before, because what had happened is the banks started giving loans to people who shouldn't have been getting the loans. And justifying it by the sense of, well, everybody deserves a right to have a house. Well, yes, but not everybody who makes $40,000 should be making, owning $1 million house, right? And so what happened is, banks got over leveraged in bad loans, giving things to everyone. People were taking seconds and thirds out on their house to buy things and live high-end lifestyles. that then crashed. That was not supported, right? I mean, the fact is, if you have, $50,000 a year in payments on things, a $40,000 a year salary cannot make up for it. Okay, that's just simple math. But the problem is, everybody got caught up in the hype, and next thing you know, everyone's losing their house, foreclosures, everything crashes. And what happened? The rich who survived it, who were getting all those loan payments, were now buying up those foreclosures at a lot less money than they would have been before. And so what happened is the rich and the poor gap actually increased. The same thing happened with the dot-com boom, right? You had people leveraging, and in fact, it almost happened a little bit with the crypto boom. I'm going to get to that in a minute because it's not exactly the same. Even though you'll see naysayers and people who don't believe in crypto are trying to make it the same, and it actually is not. So I'm trying to lay down the foundation for you. That when you had the dot-com boom, what that was a new technology. And this is somewhat of a similar thing, right? Crypto is a new technology. What you had was this idea of, everyone's making money because of a .com, owning a website. And what you saw was people buying up every name possible. And what happened is the news someone, buys McDonald's.com and was able to sell it to, McDonald's Corporation for $1 million. And right. And so then all of a sudden you had people buying up every little, nuanced thing, and some were making money. And really what was happening is you then also had investments. And, this is when we saw the move from Web 1 to Web 2, right? And this is where I want to start to draw a little bit of the conclusion here. Again, different because it was very, very, very high level people, right? This was not the average mom and pop making this money, right? Unless you happen to, your last name was McDonald and you happen to have the McDonald, right? Because you bought it for yourself and then sold it. It was banks leveraging the boom. It was taking the hype and leveraging the hype, which then will crash. I mean, even if you see the whole GameStop thing that happened, that was a power of the people, but the fact it was not sustainable, right? We knew it was going to come back down. Well, now we're moving into Web 3. And what did we see last year? We saw a major, major hype, a major pump, and NFTs are getting sold for millions of dollars. Everybody needs to have an NFT project, which I kind of agree with, but I'll get to that in a minute. And all of a sudden, you add, the stories of the people who bought, Bitcoin 7-8 years ago. Now, all of a sudden, Bitcoin goes, exponential practically overnight, and they're retiring as billionaires, right? Well, here's the difference. It was not, even though we do know that hedge funds own a majority of crypto mining, the fact is the average person was actually able to get wealthy off crypto. And that's the difference. The last two booms and busts that happened, and I'm going to say the housing market and the dot-com boom. I could even go back to that, when we had high interest rates and everything after the United States left the gold standard and we started using, kind of fake money. The United States economy was basically held by the strength of the United States military. So what happened, though, the difference in Web3/crypto/blockchain/ whatever, the average person was actually able to leverage it. We talk about decentralized finance. You own your own identity. You own your own wallet. You own your own ability to control your investment. That's the outlier, and that's the new thing that did not happen before. Before, you had to have a bank that had the enough money to give the multi-million-dollar loan to people who couldn't do it, who just wanted the feeling of owning a multi-million-dollar house. Well, now you actually can buy billions of tokens for $5, $10, whatever works for you. And that's the biggest change. Now, we did have a burst, a fall in the economy. We had a global fall in the economy, okay? Stock market is down. All your 401ks are down. Your crypto investments are down. Everything is down, okay? Let's not take that into account. Now, the crypto market will follow all the other markets, and that's what we have to understand, is it's not its own thing yet. I mean, it is, but it's not carrying its own weight. It's still going to follow other traditional markets for a while. I believe that will change in the next 5 or 10 years, but that is the fact. It will be moving and going along with. It'll be a trend follower, not a trend setter for a while. Okay, that will change in time. It's not going to be soon though. Okay. So now what you have is you have this boom that was happening, and the hype of an actual regular old Joe like me, like you, who could find the right project, invest in it, or bought crypto or ETH or whatever early, and was able to sell it. And this is what happened, is you actually had a lot of early people sell when Bitcoin hit, 40,000 for the first time, and actually be able to retire real millionaires. And that created its own hype. And it was the average person who was able to do that. Now, I came in at that hype. I think a lot of you listeners, I think a lot of people in all of our memecoin, our altcoin token projects did come in during that hype. We all came in later, but what we did is we came in during a peak, right? And every peak has a valley. I think if you remember one of the very first episodes, I kind of predicted a downside. Now, I was hoping for extra zeros to get killed, but I said there's going to have to be a fall because it's a natural thing of a market, that every boom gets followed by a crash. Well, what happened is we got a crash, but we didn't get a full crash because we didn't have a full boom. We didn't have a boom that was being leveraged by major financial markets. We know that the hedge funds can control and can, have a negative effect on crypto, just like, when Elon for a while was having fun just making tweets and completely disrupting the crypto market. That's how unstable it was, which is the downside of not having major dollars behind it, right? The instability, because you were taking this of normal people living off a hope to become rich, were now the ones who were investing and making those rash decisions. Okay, they weren't making decisions based on what would be profitable. They were making decisions based on what they thought would make them rich. I'm going to say that again. The reason for the hype and drop, because we didn't have to have a crypto drop. Web3 is completely different than a traditional stock market. We don't need to follow it. We're choosing to follow it, but we don't need to follow it. The reason that we had that drop was because people were making decisions that was a get rich, not have a long-term wealth outlook. This is what I've talked about all along when we want to look at things from financial viability, right? That's how we have to look at every investment, that you look at it as a long-term financially viable investment. We know that the market will come back, right? That's just history. We're not going to have a down market forever, right? Because even a down market forever becomes a new normal market, and at some point it goes up with inflation, right? I mean, so this is just how things work. So the question is, all right, what is the financial freedom train? If we're going to sit there and go, okay, how can you make an investment now in a down market that gives you lifelong freedom, lifelong financial freedom? I'm going to tell you the straight thing. No crypto coin, there will be an exception. There will probably be one random one, and let's pray it's Poodle. No more will just moon overnight. Those days are done. And I'm thankful that they're done. What we will have is steady growth over time. Steady growth over time is less likely to be impacted by an emotional market, right? Look at the blue chip stocks. The ones that are the Home Depots, utilities. Utilities are always do well in a down market. They've had less impact. They've been impacted, but less impact than, say, the stocks that are reliant upon services, things like that, right? So what we want to recognize is, as a crypto family, What are we going to do, and how can you ride the train? Now, I don't want to just say the easy answer is buy, but I brought up our BSC chart, and I realized do you know, to make the top 50 holders, you only need 200 billion tokens. Okay? To make the top 50 holders of Poodle, you only need 200 billion tokens. Now, if you look at what that costs, what is it? It was about $3,000 or something like that. I mean, at our current rate, I was kind of going through, I brought up, Everswap and Bridges and all, and I thought, okay, well, what if I want to buy it? What's it going to cost me? But, you know, where we're at, after fees and stuff, we're there. But here's the fact. When we moon and when the next market happens, every one of our projects, I would even say that probably most of the ecosystem projects, if they take the challenge, if we all do the challenge, which you know that we are doing, of working together to bring all of our ecosystem up, when you start to have our zeros disappear and our market cap go up, the fact is anyone who's on that top 50 list will be a millionaire, period. We have over 50,000 holders between our central and decentralized exchanges. If you are a top 50 holder, you will be a millionaire at the next bull run, plain and simple. The math says you will. What happens is when a capital influx happens, what you're going to see is more money roll in. You're going to get hedge funds roll in. You're going to get more FOMOers. You're going to get more people like us who came in at the last pump, but we've all learned our lesson. The fact is, as we move from 97% of the world who has not invested in crypto to 97% of the world who has, that pump is going to be exponential. It's what I talked about last time when I was talking about how we can invest in our own projects so that when we see things like BNB and ETH go back up, we can actually move exponential to them. The fact is simple. Every single person on that top 50 list will be a millionaire. The question is how much. If you have 200 billion versus 500 billion versus whatever, it will become exponential. I will almost go out on a limb to say if you're in the top 100, and I didn't even look. Oh, I'm going to look right now. How many tokens do you have to be in top? If you like the new website, you like how I put the BSC scan right there at the top? I always looked for it. You ever do that? And you go in and find what's the contract address? All right, so top 100. You only need 105 billion to make our top 100 list. That's it. Do you know how little that is? So 105 billion, we see 100 billion buys and sells all the time. Does it impact us? Yes and no. So something that's very casual, you're probably, I guess, well, that's 105 billion, $1,500, $1,500 US dollars, you could make our top 100 list. That is, I can almost guarantee you a level you want to be at to have true financial freedom, period. But we talk about buy and hold. That is the fact. The fact is, what we need to do as a token is stabilize. Stabilization happens from no selling and only buying. All right, I know it sounds stupid. I know it sounds normal. But the fact is, we know that majority of the people will see this as investment. They'll see something else. They'll get hyped on another project. They might sell this. They might dump. They might do whatever. But the more the core team goes, and you take your money, and by the way, this isn't just Poodle. I'm using Poodle as an example, but I'm doing this for every one of the tokens. As you know, every time we partner, I go buy some of the tokens of the ones we're partnering with. And so I'm putting it there. I try to get myself on their top 100 list, right? Now, when you sit there and you've got a brand new project or something, or they're to launch it, it's actually a lot easier to get there because I know that's what will be exponential over time. I don't want to say how long you have to wait, but I'm going to sit there and say within 3 years, which again, if you want to look at a project like Poodle, what do we have? We've locked our liquidity for that long. We've already said we're going to be a project that's going to be here. We're not just well, the market hasn't picked up and we're tired of working. You've seen the things we're doing. Do you think we invested in getting new websites? Do you think we invested in a direct fiat purchase? Do you think, look at the other partnerships that we're doing with the other tokens and all the stuff being launched? These are things that we're doing because we recognize the long-term success that comes. Long-term work creates long-term results. That's exactly why we do what we do, right? And that's thank you very much. But it is good things. Yeah, I'm watching the chat. There's good things happening for the Poodle family, and so what I'm going to encourage you to do is truly buy and not sell, right? That is the key to financial freedom, because here's what I want you to recognize. If you wanted to look at the normal stock market, everyone said, well, what if, let me tell you the problem with most people, and it's probably been you, and you've heard people say this. What if I could buy Amazon when it first came out? What if I would have bought Apple when it first came out? I would have been rich and wealthy and be a multimillionaire. I'm going to say something. No, you wouldn't have. I'm going to say it again. If you would have bought Amazon and Apple on the first day they came out, you would not be a multimillionaire. And let me tell you why. Because most people don't have the guts, balls to hold on to it. They don't. They're going to see it go up by, 2 or 3x, and then they sell it. So if most people, most investors, if they would have bought Apple, Amazon, anything on day one, would have sold it when it went to 3 or 4x. They would have not held it long enough to become a millionaire. And that is a simple fact. And we see it for those of us who like to watch the charts. I do every now and then. I'm actually more of a wallet watcher than I am a chart watcher. But if you do watch the charts and you see a big sell, what's interesting is a lot of times you'll see that at like a 2x. We know that some people try to be quote unquote day traders. They'll buy something, they wait for it to 2x, they sell it, and they take that. And and theoretically, mathematically, yes, you could make money that way. But the fact is, you're selling before there's an opportunity. Now, if that's your financial strategy, fine, go for it, whatever. But going back to the example of Apple, 99% of the people would never hold it long enough for it to make them a millionaire. Okay? That's why you don't hear the stories all the time, right? We do hear them a little bit on crypto, which, going back to the uniqueness of someone who bought a project at the beginning and just let it sit there, and then it took off. Why? Because it's easy to buy a project early on for $100, $200, and buy in and being a top holder. And then if you lose it, you lose it. If you don't, you don't, right? That's how a lot of us look at this. And so your strategy for being and riding the financial freedom train is to take every project you believe in, projects that are KYC'd, projects that have utility, projects that are working hard. Obviously, I'm saying Poodle, but there are others. I'm going to say this no matter what. And go ahead, throw your money in, and practically throw away the keys. Let the work create the long-term value, because that's how you would have made money. What's interesting is how many people, if you look at your grandparents, back in like the 1950s or so, you could have bought a normal house, for $10,000, $20,000, that are now $1 million houses. Now, what changed? Owners changed. The amount people bought it changed. But what if you bought it on day one, lived there for 50 years? Your retirement now is in your home sale, right? You can leverage that against it. Well, people who buy and sell on the way up only increase their debt on the way up. But those who buy and hold end up increasing their long-term net worth on the way up. Let me rephrase that. Hey, how's it going? Hey, how's it going, Aaron? I like seeing the chat. Let me say that again. Those who buy and sell on the way up only increase their debt and decrease their leverage on the way up. Those who buy and hold increase their net worth. Now, are there times you should sell a project? Probably, yes. But when it's cheap to get in, and this is it right now, those of us who are in the market right now, there's never been a better time to be in the market, right? We know there are people, including myself, who got into Poodle when there was basically the same value there is right now, but one less zero and maybe even higher. And that's when we got in. And we were proud to buy, like we thought that owning 25 billion was a ton because it just cost so much money at that point to buy that much, right? Well, right now, that philosophy actually didn't change. 25 billion is actually a ton. But look how cheap you can get 25 billion for right now. Like pennies on the dollar. Like pennies on the dollar, you can get it. Right? I think it, whatever it works out to be, with definitely less than $500 or so. I'm just doing math in my head. You can end up getting that amount, which when the market returns and 2 zeros are gone, that starts to become freedom. I don't think it's enough, just to be honest. We would have to really, really break 1,000 to 3,000x for that to become your millionaire status. But the fact is, if you take every ecosystem and you put $100 into every one of those projects and you just sat, even if you weren't an active community member, which I know most people who listen to the show are active community members, and you just sat on it and let everyone who's in the ecosystem do the work. Not that I suggest that, but if you did, you would turn around. How many projects are in this ecosystem? I don't know. 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. I don't know. I know that you guys can probably jump in. And just put 100 into each one, you're talking $3,000, you'd be a millionaire. If you take all that, like I said, $3,000 puts you in our top 40 holders. Guarantee you'll be a millionaire in just a few years, because that's what's going to happen when the next boom happens. And people, as we've talked about, are going to start throwing money into projects that are safe, because people are going to come back in. They're going to be, they're kind of butthurt already, thinking that they lost money and that this is not, what's safe. But what happens is consumers have a very short attention span, right? They're going to, know that they lost money, but they're going to go, oh, but I'm educated. I'm going to come in on the way up. I actually think that we don't need for it to go 10 or 20x before investors come back and new investors come in. I think we only need the entire crypto market to do a 2 to 3 before the floodgates start to reopen, because you're going to see people who realize they missed the last boom. They came in late, and when it starts to double and or triple, I think especially when Bitcoin hits 60 again, you're going to see a huge influx, and then 60 will be the new floor for Bitcoin, because you're going to stabilize the number of investors from 3% of the world to at least 6 to 10, right? So that new floor will hold, and that's where our freedom starts to come. So that's my encouragement to you. And I'm not just doing this to do a commercial to buy more Poodle, but the fact is, the math works out that way. What happens is, when we look at the history, as I started, and I kind of started back, what are the major things between the dot-com boom and, the housing market crash? Look at this. This is a difference. This is the average person controlling their investment. And we all know the utility behind the blockchain, the possibilities behind the blockchain, the possibilities behind true NFT ownership and authenticity are huge. And we're already in that as a project. So if you invest in it, you will end up making your money. Now, I will tell you, if you just go buy and you put it down and hold and don't even think about your investment, because again, don't be the dumbass who bought Apple stock on day one and then sold it because it 3x'd, right? Be the person who bought it on day one, put it in a safety deposit box, and left it to their grandkids. Now your grandkids are the ones, and I don't think we need to wait till grandkids, but you're getting my point, who then would benefit from that. That's the mentality. We don't use, the misspelled hodl, right? Just for shits and giggles here, okay? We do it because it's strong financial advice. It strengthens a token and it strengthens a project. And in fact, it's what makes you money. It's you being wise enough to own Amazon on day one and not sell it just because it 10x'd. Now, as a 10x profit, is that good? Sure. There's nothing wrong with that. But the fact is, how dumb would you feel? And I know I've seen some people on the Telegram who owned Bitcoin back when it had a ton of zeros and then sold it at $1 because they went, wow, this was amazing. And only 3 years later, it was at $60,000 or whatever the time was. How does that feel? Well, here's the thing. This is going to happen to our project. It's going to happen to a lot of projects. It's going to happen to the crypto market, not in necessarily the same X's. But the fact is, there will be a point where a new floor has 3 zeros cut off of our price. And there will be a day when that's our new floor. It'll happen as we burn more. It happens as volume goes up. It happens as the next bull run happens, right? So don't be the person who thinks, oh my gosh, we just went from 15 and we're going to jump up to a 65, because it will happen. There'll be a pump one time where we'll jump up and then you sell. Thinking, all right, I just made my 5X. Well, the fact is, then you just made that mistake. And that's not how you get to financial freedom, because what happens is you sell and you might have put into something else and the whole market went back down again. There are very few people who can trade and swap like that and ends up being a wise financial decision, especially after tokenomics, taxes, moving it from crypto to crypto, the general velocity of the volatility, of crypto. It usually isn't a wise decision. So that's my financial freedom, how to ride the financial freedom train. Think about this in this way. What's special about a train? Once they get going, they're hard to stop. Once they get going, they have power behind them. It also takes a lot of cars. It takes a lot of people. It takes a lot of working together. You've got an engine that's got to push, but you got cabins that carry the goods. And that's what we are as a family and as a Poodle fam. And that's what I'm going to encourage you as. I'm going to encourage you to be able to come in. I'm going to encourage every one of you to get in that top 100. And not only that, if we all invest enough to get into the top 100, the amount it's going to take to get in the top 100 is going to grow, in which case I'll say, you know what, you can now be in the top 200. Because we know that as we start to increase market cap, that increases our share, that increases our burn, it increases our volume, it increases the hype, it increases the FOMO of new investors. It increases so much that that's where the long-term investment comes. And that's where your long-term freedom comes. So I just encourage you in that. Don't worry about whether the Lambo is tomorrow. Don't worry about if the mooning is tomorrow. And it could be, right? We could be the project that all of a sudden everyone apes into. We could be. But I would rather be the project that stands for years, that has value behind it, that has trust, than just to moon tomorrow and have nothing to sustain it. We've seen that happen. We've seen people get hurt because they jump in. And that's the problem. So make wise decisions with your money, and trust the project. Find ways you can help the project. Thank you, everyone, for the kind words. I know that we're building a strong future here. I know that hopefully this episode and last episode were motivational for you, because I think they're important, right? And if I had this same show during the boom last year, during all the hype, it wouldn't have held the same, because everyone would have been looking at it through rosy glasses. But right now is when we have the opportunity to make decisions and buy and leverage yourself safely. Buy it, throw away the keys. And that's what I'm going to encourage you. And then keep buying, throwing away the keys. And if you don't have fiat right now, because maybe you are hurting, we know the economy's not great, then help. Another way to help your own investment is to find a way to get out there and help shill. It costs nothing to send a tweet. It costs nothing to come onto the Telegram and tell someone and support someone. It costs nothing to add, your comments to the Poodle Academy. There's so many things we can do that don't cost you anything, that you can continue to help our project, right? Create more memes. Have fun with it, right? If you don't have the fiat to jump up, then still increase your own investment that way, right? Because everyone can have this freedom. So I encourage you in that way. I'm going to have to have lunch because I got to jump back on my business meeting. And I'm walking away. I'm excited. I had a great time in Washington, D.C. and just seeing, right there. I was at a rooftop bar looking down on the Department of the Treasury, and we know the Treasury was founded by Alexander Hamilton. Sing it with me, Alexander Hamilton. I'm just kidding. And you sit there and go, someone who set up the banking system, and the person who recognized the need for the government and humans to leverage their money to create investments. Right or wrong, right? We've made right or wrong financial leveraging as an economy. Some people, again, big government, small government, not going to get political, which one you like. But the fact is, creating a system where we could leverage our own money and leverage our own investments for long-term success, it was a huge thing. And it was inspirational staring at that Hamilton statue and recognizing that our poodle success could be found in doing just that, throwing our money into an investment, putting the work behind it, and then going at it, right? That's the same thing. Think of it no different than if you bought Coca-Cola stock. How do you help Coca-Cola stock go up? You go to the store and you buy Coke. How do we do ours? You buy Poodle, and then you go in and you create a Poodle meme. You do all these things to help grow your own stuff, right? It's no different. And in time, everything grows. Time, everything pays off. Think about this. Put this in the. Wouldn't you rather pass on to your grandkids the Poodle tokens that are worth their lives, their kids' lives, forever, than just to make a few 2x today or 3x today, and thinking that was a cool profit? Have that long-term view. We can do it. We'll do it together, Poodle fam. I'm going to leave you like that. Live shows coming up for the next 2 weeks. And then probably maybe a live show from St. John. We'll find out. All right. Love you, Poodle fam. You have a great week, and we'll see you next time.